Minnesota is set to launch roadside impairment test for marijuana, you guys. That's right. Select law enforcement officers in Minnesota will soon have a new tool in their arsenal to catch cannabis-impaired drivers, a saliva-based roadside test. As required under the state's new adult-use marijuana law, Minnesota is launching a pilot project to gauge if different oral fluid testing tools can accurately detect drug use. The state is expected to roll out 2 different testing instruments next month that certified drug recognition experts will administer over the next year. In a quote, "These are by far and away the most commonly used testing units across the country," said Mike Hansen, director of Minnesota's Office of Traffic Safety. I find it interesting that's a pilot project, but nonetheless, I would expect that by this time next month, the units will be in the field and will be in use. Law enforcement in some other states where marijuana is legal have used these roadside tests to help establish probable cause, similar to preliminary breathalyzer screening for alcohol. Minnesota officers could do the same in the future, but test results taken during the pilot period may not be used as cause for arrest or as evidence in court, according to the law. The roadside tests being piloted are intended only for the purpose of analyzing the proactivity, accuracy, and efficiency of the instrument, according to the statute. Their results will be compared to laboratory blood testing, and officers must obtain a driver's consent before administering the oral fluid test. They will ask drivers to swab their own mouth until the swab changes color, Hansen says. Maybe it's going to turn green. The state plans to purchase about 100 tests for the pilot project at a cost of just under $5,000 a piece. Who's selling these, Hansen said. And Minnesota's Public Safety Commissioner must report the results of the pilot project to the legislature by February of 2025. Michigan, which legalized marijuana by voter referendum in 2018, has studied oral fluid tests with cannabis and other drugs in recent years. And a report published by the Michigan State Police back in 2021 found that oral fluid testing instruments were an effective preliminary screening tool, but not as reliable as a blood test. One of the problems with marijuana testing is the length of time THC stays in someone's body after the person consumes it and is no longer high. Further, every user's tolerance and actual intoxication will vary in a way that is not comparable to standard blood alcohol level limits. Oral fluid tests are more indicative of how recent someone has smoked, or rather how high they are. Sergeant Jim Jones, Michigan State Police drug recognition expert program leader, told the Star Tribune earlier this year. Chuck DeWeese, a traffic safety consultant who previously worked for the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, agreed. The tests indicate recent drug use, not level of impairment, he said. But DeWeese, who's advocated for roadside oral fluid testing around the country, believes the tests have proven to be an effective tool in helping officers build probable cause to make an arrest. In a quote, "You're still going to draw blood for the evidential, but this is a tool to assist law enforcement," DeWeese said. Having more drug recognition experts trained to identify impairment is key for eventually convicting drugged drivers, Jones said, especially since oral fluid tests aren't admissible in court in Michigan either. Minnesota has more than 300 certified drug recognition experts, better known as DREs, and that's not Dr. Dre's, that's just regular Dre's, trained to identify drivers who are under the impairment for drugs. Hansen said the state is seeking to add even more before retail marijuana dispensaries open in early 2025. And in a quote, he says, "Our goal is to put enough DREs, enough Dre's on the road where a street cop that doesn't make sense, but nonetheless, anywhere in the state of Minnesota within 20 or 30 minutes can either have a drug recognition expert on the scene or at very least have a phone consultation," Hansen said. "We're being very proactive as we come up with legalization and when the dispensaries will actually open." State public safety leaders are also raising awareness about the dangers of drug driving through social media posts and news release, among other things. Driving high is a DWI. It's that simple, Hansen said. Well. What do you think of this? I find it fascinating that they're calling it oral fluid, but I'm just going to kind of leave it there and see what y'all guys have to say because this is Jason Beck for the
that's just
High at 9 News. What do y'all think?
I
That's
think if
good.
they
First of
actually had
all,
something that worked, say,
first of all, you want me to put a swab in my mouth
Until it
with
turns
some form
colors.
of with some form of chemical on it that I don't know,
Hmm.
and then wait for that chemical to then absorb into my skin in my mouth
And change the color.
and then change color.
Yep.
It's actually your
That's what you
saliva
do.
that activates it, Nicole, not the other way around. So your saliva has to activate the chemical, and it creates a color reaction.
Oh,
how,
Saliva activates a
so this
what
chemical
happens
means,
if you,
called
Ron, that this chemical
testosterone.
doesn't absorb into my
But
mouth?
you ever take a COVID test?
Yeah.
No.
What happens if you ask them and you can't just spit on it?
Come on.
Well, they don't let you just spit on it, bro.
Come
Well,
on.
this is the side of the road, but it ain't that side of the road.
Come on.
But I mean,
Come on.
we already set the precedent by letting them jam a thing up our nostrils and
Come on.
like wiggle it around
This is
for
what
10 seconds. So now
Come
this
on.
is the next step.
Come
So
on.
just
with,
get used to it, guys. We allow this to
with,
happen. Now we need
Come on.
to
Come on.
lay our bed.
with
Come
the
on.
respect of us
So
getting
are you
monetized.
saying that you think that the Michigan State Police have come up with a way and that this $5,000 machine and oral test can determine how intoxicated, well, they've already said it can't determine how intoxicated you are, only that there is presence of what,
Well, it's
cannabis?
just like any reagent test that uses the color spectrum, right? So, like the lighter the color, the lower the concentration. The deeper the color, the higher the concentration because it's reacting more. So that's kind of how that works.
Does that also apply though to RSO, or if you are taking something, it's not in your blood, it's in your blood, how much of it gets put into your saliva? Because like if I'm taking RSO,
Well, your buccal glands don't they already bypass the blood-brain barrier. So like that's how like some certain sublingual stuff works, right? It's just absorbing into your buccal glands, it's bypassing all of the normal digestive tract and it's going
right,
straight into your blood.
into your
So that
bloodstream.
is why you can pick things up with saliva. That's why they use saliva tests for a lot of things, but I mean, do we think it's legit? Hell no. This is just
whoa,
a way for
no.
this is just another way for cops to fuck with you. Oh, we got probable cause now. You're intoxicated, and we proved it with your dumb saliva test.
What about
That's
a
all this.
what about a waste
Because
of
they're still gonna
taxpayer
charge you.
money? Because it sounds to me, based off this article, that they're getting charged $5,000 a swab.
No,
For a Q-tip.
$5,000
It's another
machine.
contracted thing where they
You
sell
almost
a
tell them shit.
paper towel for $500. Like that's
Like,
what it sounds like.
we sell High at 9 branded swabs.
I'm down. I am down. Man, I'll do them.
So
I'll do them at
whatever
half
it is,
price. I'll
right?
do them at half price, $2,500 a swab all day.
Hey,
What
understand the market.
happens if somebody is so cottonmouth that they are not able to produce the necessary saliva to comply? Like you have to think about why would you have a
They'll give you
test that
they'll
is
give you something to warm
directly in
them jaws up,
opposition
baby.
of the major side effect?
I mean,
Sounds like a
Physical
cop,
side effect.
baby.
You come in, you
Sounds
got
like
dry
cop.
mouth. You're like a little turtle with nothing in there. You're like,
I
They
wonder.
have
I
they have
wonder.
method-
methods
how
to get
that's
you
gonna work.
reading.
I wonder if you would dilute the test if you like had a like swish of water in your mouth just previously.
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
about a mouthwash? How about a breath mint? How about some gum? And how does that alter anything, right? That's in
Well,
every
they said
pot
they
smoker's
said these
kit, right?
officers they said these
So-
officers are gonna be well trained. I'm sure
Yeah,
they're gonna
that's-
have.
Hold on, hold on.
one.
First of all, bro, these are DREs that we're talking about, and these guys are all trained, as we all know, to tell you that if you've smoked marijuana, your tongue turns green. So, I mean, we have
I
to
was
like
thinking
be real.
that,
will.
yeah, like
Yep,
so
it will.
Silly, it's not going to
so-
work. Scientifically, it doesn't work. And
right.
that's
And
just
I
the
think
reality. And
honestly, I think that there should be a nationwide effort by police and consumers to partner together. And people like, have you seen? There was a Netflix series that the guy, I can't remember his name, and he did like a bong rip, and then he went and drove on a track and had the police with him. And so I think that there's a way, like he did a bong rip and then he drove on the track immediately, and then he did a bong rip and he drove on the track an hour later. And his him being able to drive that track differed based on an hour after he smoked. And I think that if we had some more roadside tests that help people to like literally you hit a bong and then you do some tests to determine like how intoxicated you are, just like they have roadside, say the alphabet
Can you
backwards or some shit like
can you
that.
could you imagine?
Everybody's different. Every strain of
Everybody's
pot is
physiology is
different. Everything
And
is
you can't
different. Different.
Could
standardize
you
the
imagine?
roadside
Could you imagine if they really
Personally.
had something like that, Nicole, and then you would get certified in your driving test, and they put like a little weed leaf on there if you were allowed to be
Allowed to drive
intoxicated?
stoned.
Yeah, exactly, because it doesn't impair you.
That's
Love that idea.
If they're gonna do roadside
And a
tests,
little beer
Love the
bottle
idea.
if you can drive drunk too next. Is that what you're gonna suggest? Like,
We
As
already
long as you
know
could get
how-
the,
we
if
already-
you can get the sticker, you've passed the test, you've done the training,
Yeah,
put in the
That's right.
years.
That's
Right?
right.
You're an
Exactly.
expert.
not
about-
to mention you've been able to identify boof apparently very well because apparently you have a very high tolerance.
Exactly.
if they're gonna do
Come on
roadside
board,
tests,
Jason.
they
We
should
finally
station
agree.
them.
We
They
Todd,
should
The
they should
movement.
embed these roadside tests in like really delicious, quick restaurants right off the road. So they need to take the DREs and put them with the MREs and make sure that they are capturing all the hungry drivers, right? And they could just do it at the
Right.
drive-through.
I thought you were
And
going to give
someone's
us
like,
another
let me get a
three-letter acronym.
double with cheese and give me the quick swab at the same time.
I thought you were going to give us another three-letter acronym right there, Euro. You kind of messed up the beat.
I'm sure these trained officers
You-
have methods of handling people who say they can't salivate. They know ways to make you drool.
Yeah,
They're
it's
gonna come
called
out-
handcuffing,
they're gonna bring out the
tasing, and fucking pepper
They're gonna bring
spray.
out the vice unit. They're gonna bring out the unit of stripping cops.
I'm
Straight.
not, man. That would be
Out there,
amazing if
in a
they had
uniform,
stripper
they
cops.
can drool all over that swab.
Whether it's
Hey,
DRE,
dude, you got to go to MK Biz for it. Did somebody have a loud noise complaint? I'm bringing my Velcro pants anyway. I'm
Somebody
taking my
smoking
Velcro
marijuana
pants
on the
on
road.
the expo floor. I'm like, is that ag tech or are you just happy to see me? Rip.
And in all fairness, I do know a female one time that was getting ready to get handcuffed by law enforcement, and she asked them specifically for the pink furry ones. Just saying.
I'm not in pink furries.
Just saying. Just saying.
I like her sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the story. I am skeptical of anybody who is supposed to be any type of research or agent or officer that is supposed to know if somebody's high and they've never gotten high. I mean, it's just hard. How
Best thing ever.
would you know? I mean, if for decades they were training officers to look for green tongues to determine
They
whether
still
or not
are,
someone
Nicole.
is
They still are.
weed,
They still are.
that is mind blowing. And so obviously it's like, how can you do this research if you've never been around people who are consuming or get high?
I feel like
you might not have to actually do it, but anybody who's been around somebody that smokes weed knows that their tongues don't turn green.
I feel like Charms Blow Pop and Jolly Rancher should join forces and sue all these police departments for teaching their DREs this, because they're actually losing sales by arresting people that like Charms Blow Pops, Sour Apple, and Jolly Ranchers. Just saying.
Now they can prevent that with this new swab. Right?
Oh boy, I think the swab might turn your tongue green, Todd. But
Yeah.
That's very possible.
but nonetheless,
It could do anything. Who
yes,
knows?
yes, we